Welcome back, everybody, to Mike Drop Sports. What a game last night on Monday night. I want to first just start out by saying, man, do I feel bad for Nick Chubb. What a monster this guy is, and he's probably the best running back in the NFL. And I just want to just extend my thoughts and concerns and prayers to him and just say, hey, hopefully he heals completely fast and gets back to being the best running back in the NFL again. I hate to see that happen to anybody at any time. So I just wanted to get that out there. And I want to talk a little bit about the Steelers game last night, where they were deficient, where they were good. And I want to talk also a little bit before I get going here about the Cleveland Brown fan base. And wow, my Lord, is it one of the most absolute horrible fan bases that I have ever seen in my entire life at any sport, at any level. Ridiculous. And now I'm not saying every one of them are horrible, but I'm going to say the vast majority of that fan base is absolutely and utterly garbage. And that's a fact, Jack. Take it to the bank. And you can see it. And maybe I'll post some of the comments that were put on something that I had posted on more of a Cleveland Browns geared fan page. I went on there. I was listening to some post-game remarks from Deshaun Watson, Stefanski, and all those clowns. I was listening to their post-game remarks, and I had put on there, hey, man, feel bad for Nick Chubb. Like, I hope he gets better. Like, I feel bad for the fan base. Like, he's the best running back in the NFL, and it's truly a sad thing to see him go down like that. And, man, now I did get a couple quality comments, a couple people that were, like, cool with it and were like, thanks, man, we appreciate that. I mentioned I was a Steelers fan, but then you have these guys on there saying the dumbest things, talking about the Browns never get a fair shake, blah, 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 all this dumb shit, talking about, like, how crazy I am and saying ignorant and nasty things. And then you have them on there. One guy even said, Minkah Fitzpatrick better be ready, and he better get a lawyer because he's going to need a lawyer because the lawsuits are coming. Like, who even says things like that? Like, are you that ridiculous that you say those types of things? Like, come on. But I just want to say the vast majority of Cleveland Browns fans are absolute shit. Period. Shit. And I can't take that back. I've always tried to be cool, and I never try to, like, make it anything more than it is. But when someone is being genuine and, like, saying, hey, man, we're sorry that this happened to your star player, you don't got to come at them with some nasty-ass, stupid comments. One, totally don't even make sense half the time. Two, just being ignorant to the person that's trying to be genuinely cool to you and, like, give you a little sympathy for losing your guy, and then saying, like, how malicious Minkah Fitzpatrick is and, like, he did it on purpose. There is no one in the NFL. These are men. I'm not saying no one, but I'm going to say the majority, 99% of these players aren't going to go out and deliberately hurt another player, knowing that this is the way they feed their families. This is their livelihood. They're not going out there with any ill will or intent to deliver a hit of that magnitude, to destroy someone's knee. Never. Get it out of your head. They're not doing it. These are men this is their job, and they would never do something like that. And I want to get off this rant, but my Lord, I have to say it. The Browns fans are, for the most part, completely disgusting. And I see why they lose constantly. Like, I mean, when you have a fan base like that, I mean, come on. Your franchise is just in shambles to start with. The front office is absolutely horrible. They change coaches like they change underwear. They change their players out constantly. There's no stability in that organization. And then you want to backlash and take it out on other teams' fans for no absolute reason because your front office sucks. That's our fault? Absolutely not. You went out and reached for a quarterback in Deshaun Watson, who never really won in Houston. He never took them on a long playoff run, a deep playoff run. He never won any type of title there. Nothing. Not an AFC championship, not a Super Bowl title, nothing. I mean, come on. That's what matters. You reached and you paid $230 some million fully guaranteed for a guy who was going through tons of legal issues and sat out for how long? Like, that's your own dumb fault. So if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at the front office, the ownership group of your franchise, because they're the ones that suck. I mean, hey, they blow. Period. So Cleveland fans that are cool, I do appreciate you guys, and I appreciate your level-headedness and the way you guys handle yourself. But my Lord, do you have some baggage there with some of the fans there are just completely ridiculous. And we have them here in Pittsburgh too. Some people that make some off-the-wall comments who just cannot be realists whatsoever. So that's my rant for the day. That's my yeah. The Browns as a whole suck to me, and they'll always suck, and they'll always be in the cellar whenever you behave that way and your franchise is that unstable. So maybe you should go find a new team to root for or something. Maybe it'll make you a little bit happier when you haven't even been 2-0 in over 30 years. So that blows. Let's go over last night's game and get off the shittiness of the Browns fan base, and let's go over. Again, Nick Chubb, that was a major injury. That actually probably helped the Steelers in ways because Nick Chubb goes off and he gets his. And we said that yesterday in our pregame breakdown in the keys to victory. We said you had to control Nick Chubb. Sadly, he went down with that knee injury, but he was getting his before that. He was making his waves. He was starting to get going. And Nick Chubb was a machine, man. So that probably benefited the Steelers greatly whenever he had went down, sadly. And the Steelers as a whole, we said what they needed to do on defense. Let's go there first. On defense, we said, hey, you have to be able to control the middle of the field, which I felt at times they did, at times they didn't. And I felt like that hurt them a lot. I felt we said also yesterday, the defensive backs had to come to play. I felt for the majority of the time they did, but hey, the way the NFL rules are designed, it's hard to guard people in the NFL, period. However, then those defensive backs played slightly more aggressive, which benefited that team greatly, benefited the defense greatly. So the defensive backs did show up a little bit more. At the cornerback position, I felt like JPJ needs some more snaps, man. Joey Porter Jr. has to get involved more, and they have to use Patrick Peterson in different roles. He's not the number one. He shouldn't be. I think it should be Levi Wallace and Joey Porter Jr. and mixing Patrick Peterson into that fold, doing different things, different exotic type things to put some wrinkles in that defense a little bit more. The defensive front played well, if you ask me. The defensive front played really well, especially TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith at the outside linebackers position. They caused a lot of havoc, and they won the game. They really did. The outside linebackers for the Steelers truly won this football game. Alex Highsmith with the pick six to start the game, which was started off with Minkah tipping that ball, and Alex, being a heads-up football player that he is, snagged it up and took it to the house. That was big. Alex applied pressure all night. I felt like he made Deshaun Watson uncomfortable a lot. So, along with TJ, and there you had it at the end of the game when Alex Highsmith caused that sack fumble. TJ takes it to the house. So, the outside linebackers truly won this football game. And I felt the defensive front played better. I felt like once they were spread out, they didn't get beat as bad in the middle. Amari Cooper was still getting his. The backup running back, Ford, I think his name is, he did get some of his. He was making some big runs, had that one big run late in the game. So the defense as a whole, I definitely think they played better. They came to play, and they won the game. The outside linebackers really, truly won the game. So let's move on to special teams. I felt Chris Boswell has been spot on last night, or was spot on last night. I think Mike Tomlin should have let him try that 58-yarder instead of punting it and bringing out Presley Harvin. Chris Boswell, spectacular on kickoff, spectacular in the field goal game. Really, really did a nice job last night, and I'm glad to see him doing better than he did last year. And that was a horrible year for him, I felt like, last year. So this year, I think, starting off in a better pace for him. and he's hitting some things. And I think Mike Tomlin needs to realize that Boswell can hit you from 50 to 60. Like, let him shoot it. If it's in between those yardages, anything over 60, yeah, I'd probably punt it. But in between the 50, 60 marks, you got to let him take a swat at the football and see what he can do to see if he can get you 3 points. Because I think for the most part, I think he's going to get them. And I think he's going to make the majority of those kicks. So, Presley Harvin, I thought he came back last night. He had a big football game. I thought he did really, really well. I thought it was one of his better outings in the regular season so far. So, Presley Harvin, your job's safe for yet another week. But again, guys, they did bring in Brad Wing, and they were auditioning players because they were preparing for the worst. And we said that Presley Harvin had to have a big game, a good game to keep his spot on this roster. And he did just that. Also, the return game I felt like was pretty decent with Calvin Austin. I like him back there, those types of things. So I think as special teams as a whole played pretty damn decent. Let's move on to that offensive group. That's where we have big trouble, guys. And the injury bug, too, even on the defensive side, is big trouble. With Minka going to the hospital, we already have lost Cameron Hayward. Liao had an elbow. They're getting nicked up and beat up, but you're relying on them a little bit too much. So there's injuries all over the board, especially on that offensive side of the ball. I think it's time for Broderick Jones to be inserted as a full-time player. I think Chuke's got to come out. He had 2 critical penalties that I remember seeing, false starts, things of that nature. I think his days are numbered, in my opinion. I think he needs to go to the bench right now, at least for a little bit, to maybe get his head straight. Let's slide Dan Moore over, or let's put Broderick Jones in that spot for Chuks Okorafor. And I think the offense as a whole under Matt Canada is so pedestrian, so predictable. There's no real magic to it whatsoever. We did have that one deep pass across the middle with Pickens for the score from KP8. That was a big play, good catch and throw, good run after catch, great play, but that was about it, in my opinion. There was a couple other plays, a couple other throws to Pickens, but nothing magical. They didn't move the ball very well. The defense did score twice. I took away 2 possessions from the offense. However, I don't think that would have much mattered in anything. And I'm glad that they scored because the Steelers needed it and they had to have those scores, and that's what won them the football game. So the offense, Kenny Pickett, has to be better. I'm not sure what is going through his mind right now. Played horrible, absolutely horrible, and he doesn't look like any type of a franchise quarterback right now. Now, it's early, guys. Will things change? Maybe. I don't know. We don't know. So let's see how he keeps on progressing, keeps on growing. I felt like his performance slightly better than week 1. They did manage to get some big plays. They did manage to score 7, whatever, get some field goals, whatever. I felt like they moved it a little bit better. The offensive line looks to be a disaster, though. I don't feel like Kenny has any real time. I feel like he's pressured a lot. I feel like he has happy feet. I think he knows the pressure's coming. There's no continuity on that line. There's no gelling. But it's a different group. So hopefully that, too, will grow and gel and become better as we move forward in the season. But you got to weather the storm right now. And if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you know how the NFL season goes. And you got to weather the storm now. This is your rough patch. It just happens to be at the beginning of the year like we've had for a couple times here, a couple seasons. But you have to weather this storm, and you can't lose 5 out of 6 games here to start the season. You got to get a couple of these wins. You got to keep chipping away until you allow the growth of Kenny Pickett in this offensive unit, the offensive line in particular. Get a run game established because there is none right now. And I think if you're Mike Tomlin, you might want to consider putting Jalen Warren in slightly more. I think you need to maybe give him a little bit more touches. He seems to be electric. Najee Harris, I do like his efforts, but I feel like he's not that explosive type guy right now. He doesn't have that burst. He doesn't have that ability to just take over a game right now. And I think Jalen Warren can do those things if given the opportunity. I think he needs to get some more touches in the pass game, in the run game. and he handles his blocking assignment. So I think when he's in there, he's a great asset. He's very valuable. So maybe give him a couple more touches until Najee can get his feet underneath him a little bit better. The tight end group last night, non-existent. So Pat Fryermuth's not even any balls, no targets. I don't even believe. Uh, you can't win like that. And we said that was one of our keys to victory, was incorporating those tight ends and getting in there with heavier packages, heavier personnel. You had to do that. And the Steelers and Matt Canada did not do that. You had to go in there with 2-3 tight end sets and get the ball back there, put Najee and Jalen back there, both in the backfield. Run a split backfield if you're going to be out of the pistol or shotgun all the time. Run a split. Najee, Jalen on each side of you. Load up with tight ends. Put the wide receivers down for a minute and just start to get some tempo, control the clock, establish a line of scrimmage. Like, get yourself under control. Get yourself making some progress. And I said that had to be a key to success. And it really hurt the Steelers that they weren't involved. You have a monster in Darnell Washington, a very capable Connor Heyward. You have a very, very capable Connor Heyward and a very, very capable Pat Freiermuth. You have to get those guys involved in the game, period. And if you can't, you're in trouble. They need to be in there, one, for blocking purposes, to be able to at least chip. You've seen the Browns chipped very well on TJ Watt. We at least need to do stuff like that. Chip a guy like Myles Garrett, who I think sucks. But anyway, he's not the all-time great they always say he is. But you need to be able to chip a guy and slow him down. Give that half second extra, So utilize those tight end groups. The wide receivers, I felt like they came to play. I felt like Allen Robinson was non-existent. Calvin Austin, really non-existent. I felt like Calvin Austin made a good block downfield for George Pickens. So I don't feel like they played horrible. George Pickens played pretty good. But Kenny don't have time to get the football down to them down the field. Let's just face it. He doesn't have the time to get the ball down the field. He's not able to push it accurately, comfortably. He's not able to do that right now. And until the offensive line is established and winning battles up front, you're not going to have those big pass plays all the time. And you're not going to be able to luck into the Browns linebacking core or whoever you're playing sucking up all the time like that and making a mistake to where you allowed George Pickens to get that catch and run. So you're not always going to have that stuff happen. All in all, poor performance from the offense. It has to get better. Matt Canada, in my opinion, he should probably be gone, guys. I thought more of him this season. I thought that he had finally righted the ship. I thought that he had finally got things back together, but sadly, it's not looking that way. And he has 30-some games that he's been the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And no games with 400 yards. Like, your offense hasn't put up 400 yards yet since you've been an offensive coordinator. And in that same time frame, over 277 other teams have made a 400-yard performance in the NFL. So it's not an oddity for these teams to put up 400 yards. So why have the Steelers never in 30-some games, 36, 37 games under the direction of Matt Canada, never got to the 400-yard mark, never have gotten to the major points, never have gotten to that elite level, at least for a game, to never even show flashes of it? It's sad. And Mike Tomlin, I know he likes stability and I know he likes change to be very, very limited. However, I think it might be time that you figure out what you got to do. You have people on the staff right now that can take over that offense and do the same exact thing. You have to move on from Matt Canada. It has to be it, guys. It has to be the end of the road for Matt Canada. So let's get off our soapbox. I'm going to rewatch the game today, so we'll break that tape down a little bit more and then give you our preview. We'll do a couple actual previews for the Steelers-Raiders game. We will do that on the channel and give you guys some information, what battles to watch, keys to victory for the Steelers, what they need to do, injuries, all that fun stuff. We will break that down more as we get through the week here. So stay tuned for our daily uploads. We pretty much upload every day. So there are days we miss, but that's not been very often. So we at least upload short something. But keep watching, guys, for that kind of stuff. Back to the Browns. What a shitty organization, though. They came in flying high, really manhandled the Bengals in week 1, but the Bengals aren't the Bengals this year. Joe Burrow's beat up right now, bad calf injury. He's trying to just get through until he heals up. But hey, you beat him at less than 100%. The Browns are the Browns. Deshaun Watson's not the answer. You should have kept Baker Mayfield. He's 2-0 right now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you should have kept Baker Mayfield. That would have probably been your best bet. You would have still been able to build around him. Right now, you're probably in trouble with Nick Chubb. You're going to have to rely on your running back on the roster. He came in and gave a quality performance, but you're going to probably have to go out and get a reliable veteran. Kareem Hunt, a former Brown, still out there on the market. They could possibly bring him in. There's Jonathan Taylor trade rumors from the Colts. But if you're the Browns, you really don't want to get involved in that and have two big running back contracts on your roster coming into next season if you're the Browns. And that could cause a lot of problems considering what you have Watson under right now in such a large deal. So if you're the Cleveland Browns, you're really at a crossroads here. Do you just sit and wait and allow Deshaun Watson to become the guy that needs to carry this team in the absence of Nick Chubb? Or do you go out and find some help and stay with the game plan of being able to run the football like you can when Nick Chubb is in there? Don't really care. To be honest, just kind of breaking it down and what kind of troubles they could have moving forward. I'm looking forward to the next matchup we have with the Cleveland Browns. So if any shitty Browns fan wants to come on or say any comments or anything, I'd welcome you to come on the show and we could talk about the Steelers Browns right before the next matchup and maybe get some exciting content for the viewers to be able to put out there. So, but again, guys, Browns suck. They always suck. Steelers win. We don't apologize for wins here in Pittsburgh. So until next time, peace.